hello.
Oh, hello.
Hi, how are you?
Fine.
So do you ladies,
No one.
Yeah, I'm here, from time to time. Do you go to school here?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's it. So I think I had a class with you.
Oh, yeah? What class?
History.
Maybe.
Yes, I think that's what it was. You don't necessarily might not remember me. I like it here. It doesn't mean because I go here I'm a genius. I am very smart. Hey, how's it going? How are you?
Good. How you doing?
You want it?
What class did you say that was?
History. Yeah.
Just history? It must have been a survey course then, huh?
Yeah, it was. It was surveys.
Right.
You should check it out. It's a good course. It'd be a good class. Oh.
How'd you like that course?
Frankly, I found the class, rather elementary.
Elementary.
Yeah.
I don't doubt that it was.
Yeah.
I remember that class. It was just between recess and lunch.
Clark, why don't you go away?
Why don't you relax?
Why don't you just go away?
I'm just having fun with my new friend, that's all.
Wait, we could have a problem?
No, there's no problem here. I was just hoping you might give me some insight into the evolution of the market economy in the southern colonies. My contention is that prior to the Revolutionary War, the economic modalities, especially in the southern colonies, could most aptly be characterized as agrarian pre-capital.
All right, of course that's your
Hang on a
contention.
second.
You're a first-year grad student. You just got finished reading some Marxian historian, Pete Garrison probably. You're gonna be convinced of that till next month when you get to James Lemon. Then you're gonna be talking about how the economies of Virginia and Pennsylvania were entrepreneurial and capitalist way back in 1740. That's gonna last until next year. You're gonna be in here regurgitating Gordon Wood, talking about, the pre-revolutionary utopia and the capital-forming effects of military mobilization.
Well, as a matter of fact, I won't, because Wood drastically underestimates the impact of social
Wood drastically underestimates the impact of social distinctions predicated upon wealth, especially inherited wealth. You got that from Vickers. Work in Essex County, page 98, right? Yeah, I read that too. Were you gonna plagiarize the whole thing for us? Do you have any thoughts of your own on this matter? Or is that your thing? You come into a bar, you read some obscure passage, and then pretend you pawn it off as your own idea just to impress some girls, embarrass my friend? See, the sad thing about a guy like you is in 50 years, you're gonna start doing some thinking on your own, and you're gonna come up with the fact that there are two certainties in life. One, don't do that. And two, you dropped 150 grand on a fucking education you could have got for $1.50 in late charges at the public library.
Yeah, but I will have a degree. And you'll be serving my kids fries at a drive-thru on our way to a skiing trip.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, but at least I won't be unoriginal. But I mean, if you have a problem like that, we could just step outside, we could figure it out.
Oh man, there's no problem. It's cool.
It's cool?
Yeah.
Cool.
Fucking damn right it's cool. How you like me now? My boy's wicked smart.
All right, fellas, happy Monday to you. I love that clip. That clip, of course, is from the movie Good Will Hunting. Good Will Hunting, which is the movie that catapulted Matt Damon and Ben Affleck to stardom. They were pretty much two unknown actors until they wrote the script. They actually won an Oscar for that script. They didn't get nominated for their acting, but they did get nominated for Best Original Screenplay for that movie, Good Will Hunting, and they ended up winning. I've always told friends, as most people know, I was in LA pursuing a career as a screenwriter and filmmaker. I've always dreamed of winning an Oscar for Best Original Screenplay. I still haven't given up that dream. But yeah, they won an Oscar for that script. Also, the late, great Robin Williams, the comedic actor, even though he had a more dramatic role in Good Will Hunting, he won an Oscar for his role in Good Will Hunting. If you haven't seen that movie, I'll tell you two movies you should watch, actually, that would be on my recommended films that are kind of interrelated, is Good Will Hunting and Finding Forrester. Good Will Hunting and Finding Forrester. Matter of fact, what's interesting about both of those movies, well, not the movie itself, Good Will Hunting, that scene, if you were paying close attention to it, has to do with the issue of plagiarism, and Finding Forrester, a major subplot in that whole movie has to do with the issue of plagiarism. Now, going back to that scene in my intro, the key thing is, see, that guy represents a lot of guys I know in general, and particularly guys I listen to on YouTube. That guy that Matt Damon just totally shredded to pieces, did he sound intelligent when he spoke? Yes, he did. Did he sound articulate when he spoke? Yes, he did. But what was he guilty of doing? He was basically just repeating, regurgitating, and verbally plagiarizing the knowledge, wisdom, and insight of more well-established authors. And Matt Damon called him out on it. Matt Damon called him out on it. He was basically trying to present us the knowledge, wisdom, and insight of established authors as if it was his own knowledge, wisdom, and insight. That's basically what plagiarism is, man. When you take other people's opinions, other people's beliefs, other people's thoughts, other people's knowledge, detailed knowledge, wisdom, insight, and advice, and then you turn around and try to present it like it's your own, that means you're guilty of plagiarism. Plain and simple. You're guilty of plagiarism. And that's what Matt Damon in that scene from Good Will Hunting called that dude out on. He embarrassed him. He was finishing his sentences before the guy could finish it because he knew that the guy was just ripping off more established authors. Which, of course, as everybody who listens to me knows, that has been done to me multiple times in my 3 years on YouTube. I can't tell you how many people on YouTube have essentially just repeated, regurgitated, and verbally plagiarized my stuff. Alpha male strategies, anyone? Among others. I mean, let's just keep it real, man. And anyway, the reason I'm touching on this, because as you know, if you listen to my very last video, a part of my video, I discussed what I feel is the lack of credibility that a lot of YouTubers who double as advice givers or self-help gurus. I basically said there's a lot of people on YouTube that are offering advice, particularly really in a lot of areas, but particularly in the area of dating and relationships. And I don't feel like they really have the credibility to do so. Like the example I used in my last video, a follower of mine sent me a link. I was listening to a young guy. I don't know his age, but I think he was anywhere from 28 to 32, 33. And he was giving guys advice on how to score a threesome with two women. But when somebody asked him from the chat room, how many threesomes have you had? He said one. Now, on the positive, I give him points for being honest. He could have easily lied and said, 50 or 75. So at least I give him points for honesty. He didn't lie. But he said one. In my mind, you don't have the credibility to be giving guys advice on how to score a threesome if you've only had one threesome in your entire adult life. You don't. I would say even if you've only had two or three, let alone one, if you've only had two or three, you don't really have the credibility to be giving guys advice. If I had to give a bare minimum, I think in order to be giving advice on threesomes, you should have had a bare minimum of 5 threesomes in your life. 5 male, female threesomes in your life before you start calling yourself a threesome guru. Preferably 10 or more. Preferably 10 or more. Like in my life, I don't know the exact number. If I had to estimate my life, I probably had minimum somewhere between 20 to 25 threesomes with 2 women. Starting with the age of roughly 19 to now, I've had a minimum of about 20 to 25 threesomes. I think more than that, actually. I think it's closer to 30. But I would say minimum, I would say I've had somewhere between 20 to 25 threesomes with 2 women in my life. Matter of fact, if y'all listen to my book, the audio book, or read the ebook or paperback, Ooh Say It Again, I have 6 verbal seduction stories. My very last verbal seduction story in Ooh Say It Again describes a scenario where I actually helped a friend of mine in Los Angeles. I helped a friend of mine score a threesome. Here was the challenging and most unique thing about it. If anybody's had threesomes before with 2 women, they'll know the easiest threesomes to have is threesomes with 2 women who know each other and are like each other and are fond of each other. Like they best friends with each other, or they're very good acquaintances. It's 2 women who know each other. And well, I would say actually the absolute best threesome to have is with 2 women who are bisexual, that are already attracted to each other, that have already interacted with amongst themselves. That's actually the absolute easiest threesome you're going to ever have in your life, is a threesome with 2 bisexual women who are really attracted to each other and have already made out with each other a handful of times. The second easiest is 2 heterosexual women who might be bi-curious, but not necessarily, but might be bi-curious, who like each other and are fond of each other. On the flip side, the most challenging threesome you can have is a threesome with 2 women who don't know each other. Number 1, don't know each other, and even more so, don't like each other. That was the situation in verbal seduction story number 6, which makes that story so, if I say so myself, so it's a fantastic story. I helped a buddy of mine when I lived in Los Angeles. I helped a buddy of mine on his birthday weekend score a threesome with 2 women who, number 1, didn't know each other. It was 1 black woman and 1 white woman. They didn't know each other. And the black woman, she didn't like the white woman initially, until I used my verbal seduction skills and erotic dirty talk skills to persuade her to have a threesome with my buddy. But initially, now the white woman involved, she didn't really have an issue with the black woman, but the black woman was basically like, I don't want to do no threesome with no white girl. She was like, I don't want to have well, I don't want to go into all the details, but the basic essence of the story was both of these women wanted to fuck my buddy. Both of them wanted to have sex with my buddy. But I wanted him to have a threesome. I didn't want him to have one-on-one sex. I wanted him to have a threesome. So I talked these 2 women into engaging in a threesome. But yeah, initially, until I smoothed things out, they didn't even like each other. They didn't know each other, and more importantly, they didn't like each other. That's the hardest threesome you can have. And see, so I have the credibility to give threesome advice, man, because for me to accomplish that, if I say so myself, makes me a bad motherfucker. Anytime you score a threesome with 2 women who don't know each other, and more so don't like each other, you a bad motherfucker. Plain and simple, you're a bad motherfucker. Anyway, if people are watching this looking for gems of wisdom, well, I actually technically just dropped some gems of wisdom to do with threesomes. But this video is going to be more of a rant. You know, my alter ego, Ramble is going to come out. So this is one of the videos where my alter ego, Ramble, is going to come out. But I'm going to address 2 things in this video before I move to my Patreon exclusive portion. I've always said if people disagree with something I say, and they offer a disagreement in my comment section, if you come in my comment section and just start insulting me or disparaging me or saying something stupid, 98, 99% chance I'm going to delete your shit. I think everybody knows that by now. But if you attempt to offer a disagreement that's fairly intelligent, fairly objective-minded, and most importantly, respectful to me, number one, I'll allow it to be posted. And a lot of times, like I'm about to do now, I will respond to it. I will respond to it. I've done at least 2, 3, 4 times before where I responded to a specific commenter's disagreement with something I said. And that's what I'm going to start off this video doing. I'm going to offer a rebuttal or response to one of my commenters. Now, I checked out his page to make sure he just wasn't a flat-out hater. Now, he's not, from what I can understand from looking at his page, he's not subscribed to my channel. He's not subscribed to my channel, but he does have a playlist with about 25 of my videos. He does have a playlist with about 25 of my videos. So I know he listens to quite a few of my videos. So I'm going to read what he had to say, and then I'm going to offer my rebuttal to it, probably sentence by sentence or paragraph by paragraph. I'm going to offer it. The commenter's name, he goes by CNMuamba. Yeah, CNMuamba. And I'm going to let you know what he said and what's my response to what he said, mainly on it. He disagreed with me on 2 issues related to my last video. I was talking about men and women both being emotional. He disagreed with that. And he disagreed with a lot of my comments and criticisms regarding the lack of credibility of a lot of YouTubers. People who are on YouTube that offer advice to guys, and even more specifically, advice in the area of dating and relationships or attraction and seduction. So I'm going to offer his a reply, and then we'll take it from there. CNMuamba writes, well, first he gives me a lighthearted criticism. He said, Alan, it took 29 minutes before you actually got into the content of the title of your video. So, my response to that simple lighthearted comment is, so? I do that all the time. Matter of fact, I already mentioned Alpha Male Strategies briefly. If you remember, that was one of Alpha Male Strategies' top 2 to 3 criticisms of me back in late 2017. Yep. Back in late 2017, because again, Alpha Male Strategies used to watch a lot of my videos in fall of 2017. He used to be all up in my comment section between roughly August of 2017 and early to mid-December of 2017. But then, starting when I want to say around November or so, he would simultaneously compliment the content of my videos, but then he would offer criticism. One of his main criticisms, he would be like, Alan, your videos are too long, man. You should keep all your videos under 20 minutes. That was his suggested, constructive suggestion to me. He said, Alan, you should keep your videos to 20 minutes or less, man. He said, your videos are too long, and even more so, you tend to digress away from the main topic of your videos. You'll have a topic for your videos, but then you'll spend like 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes talking about shit that ain't got nothing to do with your main topic. He like, you ramble too much. I told you about alter ego. That's the nickname for my alter ego, Ramble. He said, you ramble. Anyway, that was this guy, CNMuamba's lighthearted comment. But yeah, I do that all the time. I'll confess guilt to that. I can name a lot of videos that say, for example, I might have a certain title for my video, and let's say I might do a video that's 50 minutes. I might spend the first 35 minutes of that video talking about stuff that ain't got nothing to do with the title. And then I'll spend the last 15 minutes talking about stuff that does have to do with the title. I've done that I probably would say no less than 50 to 60% of my videos fall in that category. My attitude is, nobody should be complaining about shit to do with a video that's free. That's my simple response to criticism about the length of my video and my rambles and digressions. If my video is free, you ain't got room to criticize my videos. Now, if you're a Patreon subscriber of mine, and you're offering criticisms of the content of my Patreon exclusive videos and my Patreon exclusive live streams, then that's when I'm all ears. I'm all ears. And I've said that multiple times before. I take those criticisms to heart. If somebody criticizes the quality and length of my Patreon exclusive videos and or my Patreon exclusive live streams, I'm all ears. But when it comes to criticisms of videos that I'm doing for free, that I'm really not making no money on, I don't give a fuck about your criticisms. To be quite frank, to put it just really bluntly, I don't give a fuck about your criticisms. I don't make no money off my YouTube, my free YouTube videos. I don't make no Google AdSense money off of this shit. So I don't care about it. But anyway, that was lighthearted, so I don't have beef with him on that. Let's continue with what he had to say in his comment to me regarding my last video. Anyway, this is the first video of yours that I actually have some disagreements with you on some of your points. Well, that's amazing that this is the first video. My last video was the first video I ever did that he has disagreements with. I know people who have disagreements with 3 out of every 4 videos I did. Now, again, this guy, he doesn't seem like he's a hater of mine. He's not subscribed to my channel, but he does have a playlist with about 25 of my videos. So on the negative end, he's not a subscriber, but on the positive end, I can tell he's watched, excuse me, now I got the hiccups, quite a few of my videos. Let's continue. First disagreement. Men and women are not blank slates. Women prioritize emotion over reason. And men prioritize reason over emotion. Let me stop right there. I pretty much said that in my last video. So I don't know why he's offering that as a disagreement. I said that myself. I said both men and women are emotional, but I said they're emotional in different ways. And I took it a step further. I said one of the differences between men and women is that women will allow their emotions many times to affect their choices and decision-making. Their decision-making. Whereas I said men, with barring exceptions, men don't usually allow their emotions to dictate their choices and decision-making. In other words, they typically make choices and decisions based on logic and rational thinking rather than emotion. But I suggested or implied that many women, they will make decisions based on a lot of times based on their mood and their emotions. So that first sentence is not really a disagreement. I said that myself in a different way, but I basically said that myself. Anyway, let me continue. He says, this is what makes women more emotional than men. Also, women go through more hormonal changes in their bodies than men, which also contributes to them in general being more emotional than men. Well, again, I would disagree with that. I would not say that all women are more emotional than all men. I would never, ever say that. I've heard a lot of men say that. And I just plain and simply, I disagree with that. I think men and women use their emotions and channel their emotions in different ways. Again, I use the example in my last video of sports, man. When it comes to sports, if nothing else, that's where the one area I would say men are way more emotional than most women are. Like I've seen dudes cry after losing a basketball game, or losing a football game, or losing a baseball game. I don't see women crying after that shit. A lot of women I know, man, they don't even give a fuck about who wins a game and who loses a game. They don't give a fuck about that shit. Now, there's some women who are really into sports. Like I got a friend named Adrian that I've known for a while. She's really into sports. She's into sports like a dude. And she does get emotionally involved in sports. But over half the women I know, man, they're not as emotionally invested into sports in the same way that men are. I would disagree with just the general assessment that women are more emotional than men. I think men, there's some areas of life where I would say men are just as emotional, if not more emotional, than women are. And then there's other areas where women are more emotional than men are. Again, one of the biggest difference I would say is what I've already said, is that I've witnessed more instances of women allowing their emotions to dictate their decision making and cause them to exhibit behavior that was impulsive and impetuous, more so than I've seen the same thing in men. But that said, I would never make the blanket statement or assertion that women are simply more emotional than men are. I disagree with that. And there's nobody who can present me with evidence that would suggest otherwise. Let me continue. When it comes to credibility and advice, I don't look at YouTube personalities as trusted advisors or advice givers. I see them more as people online giving their opinions and sharing their life experiences with others. Oh boy. Oh boy. CNMuamba, this is where I'm going to go in on you, man. Respectfully, but I'm going to go in on you on that comment, man. I've addressed this before, so this is not new to me. Everything you said in that sentence, I've addressed before. Number one, there's a difference between offering people random opinions and expert opinions. I pointed that on minimum at least 3 or 4 videos over the last 3 years. There's a difference between offering random opinions and expert opinions. Anybody can get on YouTube and offer random opinions. Anybody can get on YouTube and offer random opinions. I give you a classic example. I think I've used this analogy before. I was talking about sports. If you watch most NBA pregame shows, if you watch NFL pregame shows, if you watch Major League Baseball pregame shows, who do they have on those shows? Who do they have on those shows? Like this weekend, I was watching the Super Bowl and the pregame show. Who do they have on the NFL pregame shows? They predominantly have men who have played the game and or coached the game. They have men who have played the game and or coached the game. And even more specifically, they usually have men who were on a Super Bowl, a championship team, or coached a championship team. Now, sometimes there's exceptions to that, but generally, they don't have no just dudes off the street offering their analysis on the Super Bowl or NFL games in general. Same with NBA. They don't have dudes just off the street on an NBA pregame show offering their analysis. Like, I use myself. If you put me on an NFL pregame show, I guarantee you I can break some shit down that would make it sound like I know what I'm talking about, even though I've never played NFL football. I know the game very well. I know everything about when to run the ball versus when to pass the ball, when to play man-to-man defense versus when to play zone defense, when to execute a zone blitz. I know a lot of stuff to do with football, even though I never played the game professionally. So I could get on any NFL pregame show and hold my own, but what would be missing? Even if I was to offer an analysis that people consider very valid, what would be the biggest thing missing? It's credibility. I don't have the credibility to offer, to break down an NFL game and offer analysis because I never played NFL football. So that right there automatically eliminates my credibility. I don't have credibility to do that. Same with NBA. I could get on an NBA show. I know the game of NBA. I know the game of basketball, man. I know it thoroughly. I know it very thoroughly. To the point where if I was on the NBA pregame show, I guarantee you I could break down some shit that would make people say, damn, Alan, that was a good analysis. But what's the main thing that would be missing? Credibility, man. I ain't played no NBA game. I ain't even play college. I ain't even play high school ball. As most people know, I tried out for my high school team my junior and senior year and didn't make it. So that right there eliminates my credibility, man. So going back to your thing when you said I see them as people online giving their opinions, I agree with you. There's nothing wrong with people giving random opinions. What I have a problem with is people offering random opinions disguised as expert opinions. That's what I have a problem with. See, when I work with my clients, I'm giving them expert level advice. I'm not giving them just random opinions. I'm giving people expert level advice. Expert level. I got 4 books, man. When it comes to stuff like verbal seduction, erotic dirty talk, man, ain't nobody on YouTube got more credibility than me. Quote me on that. Ain't nobody on YouTube got more credibility than me. Nobody. Not one person. Nobody. I got the audio receipts to prove it. Name one motherfucker on YouTube that has had women on a live podcast, live internet radio, like I did on my Blog Talk Radio show. A woman that they never met before, never talked to before, had them playing with their pussy on live internet radio. Name one other motherfucker that had that accomplished that other than me. Nobody. Nobody. I've had 2 women at the same time doing it. Then on my show, The Erotic Conversations, I don't even have to say no more. That podcast program of mine speaks for itself. So if anyone wants to doubt my verbal game, and more specifically my verbal seduction skills and my erotic dirty talk skills, all I would do is direct them to my podcast show, The Erotic Conversations. Ain't nobody else on YouTube got a podcast series like that. Nobody. Drops mic. On the second point of that sentence, he said, I see them as people online giving their opinions and sharing their life experience with others. See, that's just the point, CNMuamba. There's a lot of guys on YouTube that are not sharing their own life experiences. What they're doing is listening to the life experiences of other people, such as myself, and they're just repeating and regurgitating and basically verbally plagiarizing my life experiences or the life experience of somebody else. I know when I listen to people, I know when somebody is basically biting off of my life experiences. So that's an invalid statement to say there's a lot of people sharing their life. No, they're not. There's some people that are. There's a percentage of guys I would say are genuinely sharing their own life experience. But there's a lot of people that are not doing that. There's a lot of people that what they're doing is they're listening to other people, including myself, and then they're just repeating, regurgitating, and essentially verbally plagiarizing what they hear that other person talking about. So, no, I vehemently disagree with that sentence you said, that sentence that I just read of yours, because it's not true. Again, on the subject of opinions, there's a lot of people offering random opinions disguised as expert advice. They don't have the credibility to be an expert. I'm going to repeat something I've repeated before. I'm going to go by Tony Robbins, who's a multi-million-dollar self-help guru. He addressed this issue to do with self-help gurus about the issue of credibility. And this is what he said. This was years ago. He said there was basically 3 things that a self-help guru needs to establish his credibility. He said one or more of these 3 things. He said, depending on what area of life you're giving advice in, he says, first recommendation for credibility is to have some type of academic credential. For example, if you're giving advice about sociology, he suggests you should have a master's degree or a PhD in sociology before you're offering advice on sociology. If you're giving medical advice, you should have a medical degree, an MD. If you're giving legal advice, you should have a JD, a law degree. So number 1, Tony Robbins said you should have an academic credential that establishes that you have the credibility to give the advice that you're giving. Number two, he said, if not an academic credential, you should have some type of certification. Like certain jobs, they require some type of certification more so than an academic degree, like auto mechanic. Like you don't need a degree to be an auto mechanic, but you do need to be certified. Most health and fitness trainers need a certain type of certification. Swimming pool lifeguards need a certification. Most personal nutritionists need a certification. And there's a number of other, even a massage, a guy who's a masseur, he usually needs a certification. So that's the second thing that Tony Robbins says you need to establish your credibility for giving certain advice in certain areas is some kind of certification that shows, that establishes that you know what the fuck you're talking about. And he said the minimum requirement is that you have a book that where you thoroughly explain in your book why you think you have the credibility to be giving advice. And here's the more specific thing he said, and this is what I always emphasize, is that not only should you have a book, but more specifically, your book should have unique and original information in it. Let me repeat that. Unique and original thoughts, opinions, assertions, beliefs, philosophies, etc. are unique and original. In other words, he said, if you're going to write a book where you're just repeating and regurgitating and plagiarizing something that somebody else already has in another book, there's no point in you writing a book. Alpha male strategies. There's no point in you writing a book if all you're doing is repeating, regurgitating, and essentially plagiarizing information, advice, knowledge, wisdom that can already be found in somebody else's book. What's the point of that? What's the point of there being 10 books and all 10 books got the exact same knowledge, exact same wisdom, exact same information, wisdom, advice in it? What's the point of that? It ain't no point. So that's what Tony Robbins, not that Tony Robbins is the God of gods, anything like that, but I co-sign with Tony Robbins. He said you should have one or three. If you don't have, he basically said so many words, if you don't have at least one of those three credentials, an academic credential, some type of certification, or a book with unique and original material in it, then you don't deserve to call yourself any type of expert self-help guru. Like, for example, you take Stephen Covey, since I saw you mention Stephen Covey, CNMuamba, in your comment. I know Stephen Covey's book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, backwards and forwards. I know that book inside and out. I know that book inside and out. I know that book so well that I could spend the next 3 months minimum just talking about his books. And I could express it in a manner on video as if people were unfamiliar with Stephen Covey, they could watch my videos and they would literally think I wrote The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. That's how well I know Stephen Covey's book. Same what I would say with Daniel Bergner's book, What Do Women Want? I know that book so well, I could talk about that book in such detail that if people were unfamiliar with Daniel Bergner and they were to listen to me talk about his book, they would think I wrote his book. You understand my point, CNMuamba? Let me continue. I once read this quote. No, that's not the next one. I'm sorry. Next sentence is, whether you choose to believe them or not, follow their examples or not, is completely an individual decision. I agree with that. I don't have any disagreements on that assertion. Yeah, and obviously, a lot of people are choosing to listen to people and follow people that really don't know what the fuck they're talking about, that really don't have the credibility to be giving them advice. But they've chosen to do that, and that's not illegal. That's just life. Let's continue. But in my book, it certainly doesn't qualify as advice no more than Google qualifies as a place you go to for advice. Yeah, I don't really particularly disagree with that statement either. Here's the thing, man. Here's an analogy I used one time on the young brother C Boogie. One time I was on C Boogie's live stream. It was me, I think it was me, C Boogie, and this YouTuber I haven't seen in a while named Nagone. And towards the end of the live stream, C Boogie, and this is why I've always been fond of C Boogie. C Boogie is the type of brother that he's borrowed some of my talking points before, but he always gives me credit for them, which is what you're supposed to do. When you borrow somebody else's quotes, somebody else's philosophy, somebody else's concept, somebody else's terminology, etc., you're supposed to give them credit for it, what's known as proper credit attribution. And I would say no less than 95% of the time, C Boogie has always been good at that. I'll give you somebody else who's typically been good at that, even though I've had a lot of beefs with this particular personality, is Mumia Obsidian Ali. Me and him have differed on a lot of issues, particularly as it relates to the issues of incels and the issues of black women's behavior. But one thing I'll say about Mumia Obsidian Ali, and I've given him this credit before, is that I would say no less than 80 to 90% of the time that Obsidian borrows other people's talking points, he'll give that person a quick shout out. Like if he borrows a quote from me, a philosophy from me, a talking point from me, he'll say on his live stream or podcast, shout out to Alan Roger Currie. Shout out to Alan Roger Currie. If he borrows from Tom Likas, he'll say shout out to Tom Likas. If he borrows from Tommy Sotomayor, he'll say shout out Tommy Sotomayor, and so on and so on. That's what you're supposed to do. That's what you're supposed to do, man. When you're borrowing knowledge, wisdom, insight, and specific detailed advice from other people, you're supposed to give them what's known as proper credit attribution. Proper credit attribution. And even more so, you're supposed to encourage your listeners and followers to buy those person's books. Like I do that with Stephen Covey in my book, Mode 1. I have a quote of Stephen Covey's in my book, and I give him proper credit attribution for that quote. And even more so, I encourage people to buy his book and read his book. That's what you're supposed to do. I learned that in middle school. Most people learn that in middle school English class when you write a term paper. That when you borrow other people's knowledge, wisdom, insight, and you borrow their specific quotes, their philosophies, their beliefs, you're supposed to give them, you don't have to pay them money or anything, but you got to give them proper credit attribution. Otherwise, you're stealing their shit, which is known as plagiarism. You're stealing their shit. As many people have stolen my shit. Let me continue. I once read this quote, don't remember from where or who. If you validate the message based on the messenger, there is no messenger left. We all have flawed individuals. Oh, man. On this one, you're going to get both an agreement and a major disagreement. As far as all of us are flawed, I don't disagree with that at all. I'm flawed. I ain't perfect. All human beings are flawed. And on a quick side note, that's why I don't understand why it's all these men on YouTube bitching and complaining about women's behavior like it's a crime for women to exhibit flawed behavior when all you men got flawed behavior. Don't hear anybody. All you men got, your behavior is just as fucked up, if not more fucked up than the average woman. Yeah, I said it. Quote me on it. So since we're talking about flawed individuals, that's the beef I have with a lot of men on YouTube. Y'all act like women are like, as a group, are 2 to 3 times more flawed than men are. No, they're not. No, they're not. For every flaw that women have, I can name 1 or 2 flaws that men have. Like, y'all criticize women for being liars. Men are lie just as much, if not more. Y'all criticize women for being manipulative. Men manipulate women just as much, if not more. Men criticize women for being overweight. There's a bunch of overweight motherfucking men in this society. Shit. I dare you to say there's not. Women are self-centered and selfish, like men aren't. The list could go on. I don't want to digress onto that. But so on this comment about flawed individuals, that's one of the biggest pieces I have against you men. You men talk, not all of you guys, but a lot of you male YouTube personalities, y'all be talking about women like they're like 10 times more fucked up than women are. No, they're not. You guys have presented a way for them to play games and they play it. And you're mad because they win. Period. End of story. End of story. But back to this comment, CNMuamba is basically trying to say the message is more important than the messenger. The message is more important than the messenger. I vehemently disagree with that. I vehemently disagree with that. Here's the thing. If that was true, since I already mentioned his name a couple times, I'll mention it again. If that statement was true, that the message is 10 times more important than the messenger, Alpha Male Strategies would be out of business. In the story, Alpha Male Strategies would be out of business. If all his followers were emphasizing the message more than the messenger, Alpha Male Strategies would be out of business. Why? This motherfucker has expressed so much inconsistent, contradictory, hypocritical, and highly invalid advice. The dude has done one of the most major flip-flops I've ever seen anybody in the dating advice and relationship advice industry do. When he first skyrocketed to popularity, what was he emphasizing? Lying to women, misleading and manipulating women, toying with women's emotions. He was unapologetic about it. He was encouraging it, and he was encouraging it in an unapologetic manner. Now, 2 years later, he got his second dating advice book out where he's basically totally flip-flopped on that. But yet, he ain't really lost no significant percentage of his followers. What does that tell you? That tells you that his followers care more about the messenger than the message. That's what that tells you. They care more about the messenger, the likable personality of the messenger, than the message itself. Because if they were just paying attention to the message, nobody's going to continue to follow somebody who flip-flops like that. Nobody who's of reasonable intelligence is going to continue to follow somebody who does a major flip-flop like that. I dare you to present anybody who's of reasonable intelligence that would do something that stupid. So don't even tell me, CNMuamba, about people pay attention to the message more. The second disagreement I have with that statement that you should pay attention to the message more than the messenger is what I've already said. You can repeat, regurgitate, and plagiarize somebody else's message. You can easily, particularly in this day and age, on here on YouTube particularly, you can easily just repeat, regurgitate, and plagiarize. Again, I hate to keep attacking them, but I just got to keep it real, man. And everybody knows it. That motherfucker has essentially verbally plagiarized at minimum the first 4 chapters of my book, The Possibility of Sex, and most of the time has tried to present it as if it's his own shit. Anybody, I dare anybody who listens to both him and me, which there are a few people who do. There's some people who listen exclusively to him, some people who listen exclusively to me, and then there's some people who listen to both of us. I guarantee you, if you own The Possibility of Sex, either the ebook or the audiobook version, and you listen to Alpha Male Strategies talk about stuff to do with not giving women your non-sexual attention and women exploiting you for your man, that's straight. All the shit he talks about related to that subject is straight out of my book. It's straight out of my book. No, the messenger is important. I would say both are important. I wouldn't lean towards one or the other. I would say the message of the messenger is important. You don't want to listen to somebody that's just giving you bullshit advice. And secondly, the messenger is important. Let's continue with some other stuff from CNMuamba. As a matter of fact, Alan, I never did any research or background on you before I started following you on YouTube and other platforms. Okay. That's all I got to say. Okay. I continue. I just watched and listened to some of your videos and thought to myself, this guy makes sense. Let me try this out and see what kind of results I get. Once I tried it for myself and got some results, that gave me more credibility in you and what you were teaching. Well, I appreciate that comment of kudos and respect. I appreciate that comment. But it still does not eliminate the fact that theoretically, well, I wouldn't even say so much theoretically because people have done it. See, you said the thing that gave me credibility with you is the fact that you listened to me and you took my advice as being valid. Now, what if there was another guy named Joe Johnson on YouTube that was basically stealing my advice and you had heard him first? It would probably make sense to you too, wouldn't it? If he was basically duplicating my advice word for word or damn near word for word. I mean, again, a perfect example. I hate to keep bringing his name up, but I am. Alpha Male Strategies. Do you know I have approximately 80 Patreon subscribers that told me that they first used to listen to Alpha Male Strategies, and when it came to stuff to do with sexual attention and companionship versus non-sexual attention and companionship, they actually thought that that was his shit. I've had as many as 80 guys tell me that they initially thought that was Alpha Male Strategy shit until they bought my book, The Possibility of Sex. And then just about each of them ended up writing me and saying, damn, Alan, I don't know if you've heard this before, but man, Alan, before I bought your book, The Possibility of Sex, I thought everything you talk about in that book, particularly the first 4 chapters, I thought that was Alpha Male Strategy shit. I ain't talking about 5 guys or 10 guys or 15 guys. I'm talking about as many as 80 over the last roughly a year and a half, 2 years. I've had as many as 80 guys that have told me that before they bought my book, The Possibility of Sex, they thought that the information that I presented in the first 4 chapters of that book, and even in 1 or 2 of the chapters in part 2 of that book, came out of Alpha Male Strategy's mind. Like, I remember last summer, I did a one-on-one consultation with a guy, was in that category. He said the first dating coach he followed was AMS. And then he said he bought my book, The Possibility of Sex. He said, I think he bought the audiobook. He said he was listening to it. And he said he was like, damn, this is all the shit that Alpha Male Strategies talks about on his videos. But he realized that Alpha Male Strategies stole it from me because he saw the copyright. Because that book is copyrighted in 2012. Alpha Male Strategies wasn't around in 2012. He wasn't even around in 2016. He didn't come on the scene until late 2017. So this guy knew that he had to steal it from me. So anyway, all that to say, I appreciate that comment you made. But the fact of the matter is, man, if you got people on YouTube just stealing other people's shit, then does it really matter what you're listening to? See, this goes back to your comment about the message versus the messenger. Anyway, let's continue. We're both college educated, Alan. Okay, great. Alan, I was a business major and minored in entrepreneurship. I took courses that were taught by tenured professors who never ran a business of their own in their life, but yet they were considered certified to teach the course. Go figure, right? I always thought there was something wrong with that picture. Now, see, this is where you're going to get another agreement from. I agree with you on that. Because I mentioned this on at least one video I did, I think in 2017. As most people know, I went to MBA school at the Kelley School of Business, Indiana University, which is where I got my undergraduate degree. Matter of fact, at the time I was in the MBA program, they were ranked as the 5th best MBA program in the country. It changes. Some of the rankings change year to year or every other year. But that particular year, when I was admitted into the MBA program, they were ranked. U.S. News and World Report ranked them as the number 5 MBA program. But I didn't end up finishing my MBA. I completed the first year, but I didn't finish my second year. And part of the reason why is because of that comment you just made. One of the things I didn't like about MBA school, and I hate to disparage my alma mater, but one of the things I didn't like about MBA school is you had guys teaching graduate level business courses who had never actually ran a business in their life. All their knowledge was academic knowledge. It wasn't actual real life practical knowledge and wisdom and advice. You know, I've been in the trenches, man. I've had a myriad of experiences with women. I'm 56 years old. So let's start with, I don't know, the age of 16 up until now. You're talking about, I got like 40 years of experience with women. Now you match that with somebody who, if we're going to start at the age of 16, who's on YouTube that's 21 years old. That gives them what, 5 years? If they're 31 years old, they got 15 years? And you matching that up against somebody who got 40 years? Man, get the fuck out of here. Real talk. Get the fuck out of here. I said this in my very last video. Ain't nobody on YouTube that's younger than me that got more experience with women than me. I dare anybody who's a minimum of 10 years younger than me or more to say that they got more experience with women than I do. I dare them to. They might have more experience in certain specific areas like the area of divorce, the area of child support, one or two other areas. Those are things I've never experienced. I've never been divorced. I've never had to pay child support to a kid, like a baby mama. So there are some people younger than me that have, you know, knowledge in that area that I don't have. But in the general area of just like stuff to do with like attraction and seduction, man, there ain't a motherfucker on YouTube that can fade my experience. Nobody. Now let's continue. I'll leave my comment with this. The best I ever heard about credibility comes from none other Stephen Covey in his book, The Speed of Trust. Covey breaks down credibility like this. Credibility boils down into 4 issues: your integrity, your intent, your capabilities, and your results. I love and respect Stephen Covey. I really do. I love and respect. But he left out at least one area. Of those 4 things, I don't really disagree with the 4 things that he said, but I would add on at minimum a 5th thing. He said, your integrity, your intent, your capabilities or talents, and your results. I would add on your achievements, maybe he puts this under the category of capabilities, but I would add on your achievements, your accomplishments, and your documented experience. Your achievements and your accomplishments and your documented experiences. See, here's the deal, man. Like I was talking about earlier about NBA pregame shows and NFL pregame shows. What have you noticed if you watch those pregame shows? If you're a sports fan, if you watch NBA pregame shows or NFL pregame shows or Major League Baseball pregame shows, what do you notice? Like, for example, on most NFL pregame shows, they might have a minimum of 4 and as many as 5 or 6 different analysts to say, for example, break down the Super Bowl. Who they think is going to win the Super Bowl or not win the Super Bowl. Who would want to listen to a show where you got 5 NFL analysts essentially saying the same exact thing? Who would want to watch that show? Nobody. The reason why they hire the analysts that they do, because they want a different perspective. They don't want 4, 5, or 6 people essentially offering the same exact analysis as the other person. But yet that's what you have here on YouTube, man. You got a lot of people who they spend so much time copying other people's stuff, repeating and regurgitating other people's stuff, that they end up sounding just like another person, including myself. There's been at least a dozen or more people I've heard on YouTube when they're offering dating and relationships advice, and more specifically, attraction and seduction advice. They sound literally just like me. They sound just like me. Again, Alpha Male Strategy. Now, Alpha Male Strategy, to his credit, he has some piece of advice that I would say is totally different than mine, because he doesn't really believe in a direct approach like I do. But the main area where he sounds just like me is when it comes to his advice related to helping men prevent themselves from being used and exploited for their non-sexual time, attention, and companionship. Whenever he talks about that specific subject matter, he sounds just like me, man. He literally sounds like it's a recording of me. Now, in some other areas of his advice, yeah, he does sound uniquely different from me. But when it comes to stuff to do with non-sexual attention, he sounds just like me. He sounds just like me. And again, I got 80 male Patreon subscribers who will back me up on that. And quite frankly, I'm just tired of it, man. So anyway, I appreciate you, CNMuamba, of taking time to offer your commentary, your disagreements. Like you said, there were some things in your commentary that I agree with, but there was other things I disagree with. My most vehement disagreement, though, if I had to highlight just one and one only, is when you made the assertion that the message is far more important than the messenger. I vehemently disagree with that. I vehemently disagree with that. I would say that both are important. Both the message, the quality and validity of the message is important, and the credibility, the life experiences and the credibility of the messenger is important. Because if you totally disregard the credibility of the messenger, then what you're saying is in so many words, is that it's okay for other people to just repeat, regurgitate, and plagiarize other people's shit. That's what you're basically saying. If you just concentrate on the message, you're basically saying there ain't nothing wrong with people. And if there was nothing wrong, why would we have copyright laws? Why would we have copyright infringement laws? Why would we have trademark laws if that stuff wasn't important? Why? Why are book authors afforded copyrights? No man on YouTube has had the exact same experiences with women that I have. My own blood brother has never had the exact same experiences with women that I have. So if you haven't had as many years of experience as I have, and you haven't had the same exact quality of experience that I have, then you shouldn't be sounding exactly like me. For example, if you're 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, there's no way your advice to your listeners should be sounding exactly like mine. And I'm 56. My experience blows your experiences away. I guarantee you, I've fucked more women than you. I've had more threesomes than you. I've seduced more women than you. I guarantee you I have. I'll put a $10,000 bet on it. And I'll put my money where my mouth is. I guarantee you I have. And anybody who knows me in real life knows I have. Drops mic. And then the quick final thing I'll close out on is, and some of you people probably saw my community page. But I made a quick comment. I know it's going to rouse curiosity. But I'm not going to get lengthy with this one. I already did a video where I covered most of what I want to say. Go back to my video that's called Business 101. Never, basically, I can't remember the exact title, but it's Never Mix Friendship with Business. I don't think you should ever mix friendship with business, man. I've had people disagree with me on that. Like I've had some people say, Alan, I believe it's okay to go into business with somebody that's a close friend of yours. You know, I'll respect your difference of opinion. But I generally, there might be a few rare exceptions aside, but generally speaking, I don't believe in going in business, man. Here's my thing. I talked about this. If you guys have been following me for a while, you remember I went to, just like I have Patreon supporters. Well, in 2018, they didn't do it last year. In 2019, at least I don't think they did. But in 2018 and in 2017, they actually had a Patreon conference, like a worldwide conference that people who are Patreon creators could go to and soak up knowledge, wisdom, insight, and advice from people who have a more successful Patreon page than them. And they had these like mini workshops. And one of the workshops, I sat in on had to do with collaborations. And the guy who led the workshop, he talked about the difference between beneficial and productive collaborations versus detrimental or unproductive collaborations. And ever since I've been a book author and dating coach, for better or for worse, I've had a lot of people who have tried to come to me looking to collaborate with me in some capacity. Now, there's been some collaborations I've done that was like maybe a one-time thing or a two-time thing that I didn't mind doing. Like if I had to highlight one in that category, it'd be Ron Wills. Me and Ron Wills, we did a video collaboration about 2 weeks before Memorial Day that I thought went real well. I felt like I benefited from it. He gave me a nice stipend for the collaboration, and I'm sure Ron Wills fans benefited from it. So that would be an example of a one-time collaboration that I have no regrets about. But then there's other people who've come to me attempting to collaborate, and honestly, it just don't make no sense. And again, I'm going to try not to be too lengthy because I've already spent a lot of time. But here's the thing, man. There's no point in two people collaborating if they essentially have the same target demographic audience. And that's what the guy explained in the workshop. There's no point. That is not a beneficial collaboration. I'll give an example. I'm a dating coach. Number one, I'm a dating coach that emphasizes direct verbal game as opposed to indirect verbal game. And number two, along with that, my main emphasis is on helping men's interpersonal communication skills, their verbal communication skills with women. If there's another guy in the manosphere, and more specifically on YouTube, that's essentially doing the exact same thing, he's also a dating coach who emphasizes direct verbal game and emphasizes verbal communication skills. Why would I want to collaborate with that person? He's a competitor of mine. That person is a competitor of mine. He's not a collaborator. He's a competitor. Because we got the same area of expertise. If you got the same area of expertise, or you at least propose to have the same areas of expertise that I do, then you're a competitor of mine. I'm not going to collaborate with a competitor. Real talk. I'm not going to collaborate with a person. You're never going to see Burger King collaborating with McDonald's. You're never going to see Kentucky Fried Chicken collaborating with Popeye's Chicken. You're never going to see Pizza Hut collaborating with Domino's Pizza. You're never going to see Pepsi-Cola collaborating with Coca-Cola. That's never going to happen because those are competitors. That's one of Michael Jordan's criticisms when LeBron first went to the Miami Heat and teamed up with Dwayne Wade. Michael Jordan, he was like, if that's what LeBron wants to do, that's what I do. He said, but speaking for myself, I could have never done that. Because he said, that would be like me going to hook up with Magic Johnson and playing on the same team as Magic Johnson. He said, as much as I love and respect Magic Johnson, I look at Magic Johnson as a competitor of mine. He's a rival of mine. Same with Larry Bird. He said, Larry Bird, I love and respect Larry Bird, but he said, I would never try to hook up with him because I look at him as a competitor of mine. I'm not trying to collaborate with a competitor who's going after the same target demographic audience as me. But yet I've had people try to do that, man. Here is a beneficial collaboration. And for those of you ignorant to business and how collaborations work, here's what would be a beneficial collaboration. Let's say my area of expertise is verbal communication skills. And another guy's area of expertise is health and fitness, nutrition and fitness. But he doesn't have expertise in the area of verbal communication skills. So that would be a collaboration I would be interested in executing, because then his clients who he gives advice to related to nutrition and fitness would come to me for advice on verbal communication skills, improving their verbal communication skills. And then my clients who get advice from me on verbal communication skills would go to that person for advice on nutrition and fitness. See, that would be a beneficial and productive collaboration. But when you got two people who are offering the same exact services, that ain't no beneficial collaboration. But yet I've had people try to seek to collaborate with me, but then they turn around and try to offer the same services that I'm offering. And I'm not going to say no names, but just recently I was listening to some guy who was always sought to collaborate with me, but yet he was promoting essentially the same services as me. What the fuck you want to collaborate with me for? Is $1 million question. Why are you trying to collaborate with me when you're essentially trying to be me? I ain't down with that shit. People must think I'm stupid. I may play stupid. I've admitted that before. There are times I might play stupid so that I can cause you to reveal your true intentions to me. I will play stupid, but trust me, I am not. Drops mic. For more knowledge, wisdom, and insight from Alan Roger Currie, join me in my Patreon exclusive portion.